coming at you from our studio at 15 Perry Street. We certainly appreciate these guys allowing us to come here. And I've got my sidekick, Paul, here. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, everybody.
So we have a guest that actually served along, I think, did you serve along both with Brad and Chris? But
Different squadrons.
Okay.
Yeah, same time frame.
okay, so it'll be, Kelly, first off, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to get back into your background and everything, but for those who've listened to Chris Van Sant or Brad Thomas on previous episode, Kelly sitting with us has also done some of those same things, and we're going to get into a little bit of his past. And so what I usually ask people is, what's the beginning? Where did it all start at? So what is home? Because a lot of times that kind of tells the pattern of why maybe you pick certain assignments or something of that nature.
Yeah, so home was Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
I'm kind of all over the U.S. as a kid, but I guess that's where I left for the military. So I was a hippie kid, living out there in Portland.
Were you really?
Not really. I mean, I had Birkenstocks and socks, all year long. But
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it was
that's
the 90s.
true then.
It was the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. It was the mid-90s,
And socks. You made sure you covered.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to have those the wool socks.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-calf. Mid-calf, yeah.
Okay.
Some plaid shorts,
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was the thing. So, so out of Portland.
Okay.
And it all started with a 1.68 GPA. You can either go to, graduate high school. You can really limit your options.
Yeah.
You can work at a local company starting out, or you can, go to community college, and that sounded like too much work. So.
Yeah. That sounds like my story. So how old were you when you graduated? 17 or 18?
17.
Yeah, that was me. So did like a recruiter come to you, or did you end up going to them?
Yeah, so they bugged me all through high school. I guess they knew the path I was already on.
Yeah.
And I got annoyed with the recruiter that I had just because he was persistent, right? I wanted to party and, do track and just focus on me.
Yeah.
And I was at a party during the summertime and met this girl who had enlisted in the Air Force. And it had still been in the back of my head. And so she's like, you should be my recruiter. I was like, okay. I can't remember if he was an Air Force guy. I don't know. Nobody pushed me towards any other branch besides the Army. And I guess he just talked to me, and I don't remember as much, I guess maybe as I should. But, the one thing is that literally they showed me a video, and I was like, and it was a Ranger video. It was the old recruiting video, not the 80s video, but like jumping out of planes and coming up out of the water next to, boats and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's it.
The hook is in.
I can relate to that.
And he gave me a I don't know what they call it, but he gave me a Ranger contract.
Option 40.
Yeah. So I joined with a Ranger contract.
Okay. So I spent time, I didn't tell you this, as a recruiter. So I kind of followed what you said there. There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, there's some hard work that goes into making sure that hook sinks just right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he got you on the video.
2-minute video. That was it. Put the VHS in, sit me down in a chair. I was like, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it explains the 1.68 GPA, right? Maybe there wasn't a lot of thought going on. I was like, that's cool. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, and it's cool that you got the option 40. And because then it was pretty much guaranteed, or was it? Because what we hear a lot of times is that you end up going off the OSIT, and at some point, maybe things get a little haywire.
Yeah, no, I never had an issue.
Okay.
Never.
How long was it that you stayed in the delayed entry program?
So enlisted in August and October. I was.
Oh wow, you were ready to roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were the plaid shorts.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I never shot a gun before I joined the military. Wow. Is that weird?
Well, that's America.
It's Portland.
Yeah,
Maybe not anymore. Maybe not anymore. It's changed up there. I certainly did some partying and having fun down there. And I don't know. I guess I was just ready to do something different. And it's probably a lot like my career. I didn't think about it too much. I didn't plan it out. Always, just kind of reacted and just took it as it came. And so I think that, has been very useful too.
Yeah. Do you still do that? Like even today, like planning vacations and stuff like that? Do you just kind of go at the whim, or?
Yeah, if I can. I've been married 21 years, so my wife doesn't. We did one vacation like that, and I had a blast.
Yeah, she didn't.
No, she's the planner.
See, that's me. And so, well, I'm not as bad as some, but I mean, like, all right, where are we going a year from now?
Yeah.
But then my wife will take it and put it on steroids. It's like, all right, on Monday, we're going to be doing,
Yeah. And I mean, God bless her for it.
Yeah.
She's got her list with their boxes, and the kids have their list with. I don't get a list.
you don't have a vote.
She's given up. No, she's given up.
Show up, shut up, and pay up.
Yeah, and so many times it's hilarious. We'll load up, and I'll be like, "Did you get this?" She'll be like, "No, that's yours. Didn't you pack?" And I'm like, "But yeah, but you guys like, where's mine?" Sorry, you don't have a snack, honey.
I love it.
Yeah.
So Fort Benning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. And what 11 series did you end up getting? Bravo?
Bravo.
Okay.
Yeah. Fort 30th AG, and then Fort Benning, Delta 258.
Wow. You don't remember your recruiter. Now, see, Chris remembered his recruiter's name, which blew me away. But you do remember the unit, the basic training. Wow.
Yeah. And you know why? It's because I think Lee was in, a lot of guys, I don't know what it is, Delta 258. Like, there's only a few companies, but
yeah. I remember mine too, which was a long time ago. But Delta 3-1. Wow. Do you remember yours?
No.
See,
I have no idea. I'm horrible at that. I barely knew where I was most of the time.
Well, okay. So, any rate, you're at Delta 25.
Delta 258.
258.
Yeah, that's important.
Okay.
Get that 8 in there. I think, or I'm saying it wrong, and it's just going to be par for the course.
After you completed that, did you go straight to airborne school?
Yeah.
And then RASP?
Yep.
Or actually back then it was
RIP.
RIP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ranger Indoctrination Program for those who don't know the lingo.
Yeah. For the old guys.
For the old guys. Yeah. The old guys are going, yes, RIP. It was
back
much
when
harder.
It was hard.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about RASP. I just assumed that they just renamed it to, be more inclusive of the, the times.
Well, now they have pre-RASP.
Oh, really?
Before RASP. There was a comment, I'll stop us for a second, because there was a comment that was actually on a post that I recently did about pre-Ranger. It's like, why are all these pre-courses? It's actually a valid point, because why did we create the pre-courses? Because commands are not doing their job and their due diligence and making sure they're selecting the right candidates and preparing them properly before they go.
Right.
So the command of the training unit that accepts these people and receives them says, oh, man, I'm not going to work with this person. The whole idea is it's an assessment to weed out the best, so go home, and the Army gets stuck with the bill. Yeah. Now, rather than going to the initial commander and going, why did you allow this to happen?
Yeah.
It's let's develop a pre-Ranger course.
Right.
Now, let's create a pre-RASP course to make sure that the numbers reach a higher level, because we'll prepare them before they get into the assessment piece of it.
Which then dilutes that assessment, the whole purpose behind it.
Yeah. So you now have a pre-RASP and then a RASP.
Man.
Mm-hmm. Came in the wrong time.
Yeah, right? It was so much harder, I guess.
So it's designed to really get you to the RASP and at least see if you have the wherewithal, giving you the early tools to get you ready. It's kind of crazy.
I can see the benefit. I mean, if you're, especially if you're losing people, like in battalion, if you're losing people, because we had guys that would go to Ranger school, they'd fail Ranger school.
And then you are gone.
Yeah, and good dudes.
Yeah.
Right? Or, they can come. It really depended on the command or your platoon, but, some guys would come back and then get the opportunity to go. But, I mean, usually it was a death sentence if you came back without that tab.
Yeah.
We used to call it 80-second selection.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fail.
Wow, that's like
fail Ranger school.
That's
you
like
just
really throwing
80-second selection. I think it's a good unit, but that's how you get there from.
That's the Ranger Battalion. Though, I think.
I know. Yeah. But you guys, Rangers and 82nd, goes deep.
Yeah.
Way deep.
Do you think?
Yes.
There's not a lot of love between those
two
units, I think.
No, because I can remember a time.
I don't like. I think
you don't like.
No, I don't think that's good, man.
Good rivalry.
It's all American. Those are good dudes, good paratroopers.
Yeah, I think the rivalry's fine, but to look down on, and I can say it, when I was there, Ranger Battalion, right? That's the mentality. That's you're elite. You're doing this, and you're better than everybody. But looking back on it, I mean, I don't think it is any easier than Ranger Battalion.
Yeah,
you know, I think you get into some of those LERPs, you get into some of all that stuff. I mean, they're equal. I've seen some great dudes come out of there. I think it's really what you make of it. There's some bad folks at Battalion too, or at least there was. And when I was there. So I think it's what you make of it, whatever unit that is.
Yeah. Well, and you can't get released from 82nd.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot harder to be a good leader there because you have to work with what you've got. And if you've got a guy that's challenging from a leadership perspective, you have to figure out a way to crack that nut. In Ranger Battalion, you counsel him to death and you get him out of there, and he's gone. And
that's a very
you weed
valid
them
point.
out. And I mean, that was a rude awakening for
the
me.
The whole thing of earning your beret every day.
Yeah, that's very valid.
You know, and you got to take that team overseas, and it doesn't matter. You know, if the guy's kind of a turd, he's there. You got to figure out how to make it work. So I have a lot of respect for the guys that can make it work over there and the challenges they face. It's hard in a different way.
That's the difference between conventional and soft. You know, what we're
in many ways.
describing.
Yeah.
What year was this?
96.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
was the high and tights, and
I just left there, and I was just getting ready to say, I remember
black berets, spit shine starches over on main post.
Oh yeah,
whole, black PTs, everything.
Yeah. Not allowed to wear a patrol cap unless you're inside the compound.
Right. Yeah. No Gore-Tex. No Gore-Tex showing.
Oh, that's right. Long sleeves pulled down.
BDU tops down, and Gore-Tex underneath your BDU tops, so that nobody knows you're
nobody
wearing.
knows.
I don't know what the purpose is. That's the only assumption I can make is we don't show that we're wearing Gore-Tex.
That's
amazing. I remember that period.
Yeah.
Tried to emulate those guys a lot, because I had to go over there on occasion. If you didn't look the part, you just weren't accepted.
No, you walk through those gates and
you better blend in, not stand out.
Yeah,
a lot of judgment.
Yeah. So I first going back, when I arrived at Fort Benning, and I had like a stash, and this came off of recruiting duty, so I had like the porn stash or whatever, and was quickly pulled aside and told, you don't want to come inside here with that thing,
Yeah.
Get rid of the caterpillar.
Went in there. Because it was sucked anyway. Because you could only go on the side of the lips, and then it had to be above it, and so it did start looking like a.
So I'd be curious what the thought process was then.
Yeah.
What? Explain your stash, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. Wasn't 80s porn or anything like that,
Yeah.
But anyway, so 96, you arrive, and when you come in, you get sent out to second at that time frame?
Yeah. So
how did that pick? Was it just the eeny, meeny, miny, mo back then, like typical, or?
I'm sure they had some system, but I'll tell you what, second, coming from Oregon.
Yeah.
Second is not where I wanted to go. I didn't want to go to Benning either. I'd spent enough time there.
Well,
Nobody wants to go to Benning.
Nobody wants to go there.
I got a mad respect for Third Bat, but Benning sucks.
Yeah.
And it is just the nature of that place. Or maybe it's because you've been beaten up there enough and you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So Savannah was my first choice, and then Second Bat. But I love Second Bat.
Yeah.
Loved it. I'm glad it worked out the way that it did, but First Bat was my one choice.
How many years did you end up spending there, or time?
So 4.5 years at Battalion.
Okay.
I had met my wife while I was there. Military love story.
Yeah.
She fell in love when she saw me, and it took me about 6 weeks, and then 21 years later. But I had never intended to spend my career in the military from the get-go. I grew up with GI Joes, and that's about it. But I didn't think about it. I just was like, oh, I'm going to go do this new adventure. So
what was your enlistment period? 3?
So 4 years.
4.
Yep.
Okay.
So that 4 years was coming up.
Yeah.
And my wife, through random chance, had the same exact month as I did for ETSing. And we had been married. This was 2000. And she goes, she's like, she had an epiphany. She's like, probably not wise of us to get out at the same time with no plan. I was like, I'm just going to go to college, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just college, I got a 1.68 GPA, but I'm different now. So
I'm a Ranger.
Yeah, I'm a Ranger. I can do anything. And she made that comment, and I was like, okay. It's like, well, I can go to selection, I guess.
Wow, where did that come from?
Left field. I have no clue.
Okay, so this is a guy, again,
no plan.
You just said a few minutes ago that you had no desire. You just wanting to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And then you go and challenge yourself at being a Ranger and stuff, but selection just comes out of left field.
You just decided, maybe I'll just go do one of the hardest things on the planet.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that it was the hardest thing. I was so naive, or I'm selectively forgetting it. I don't know, but I don't remember. I mean, I remember learning about the existence of that place.
How did you?
Just from, being the guys on an airfield seizure and, the cool guys are coming in and they're going to, and then they're just notionally coming in. So we're laying out in this airfield in the middle of the night and, they got busy and they can't come. So they're notionally going to land and we're going to lay here for another 2 hours while they pretend to be here but not be here.
That's their best recruiting thing, I guess, because I've heard that story more than not, where you're out on the range and all of a sudden the range gets shut down because Delta's coming in to use the range, and you get to sit in the bleachers and wait. And
and these guys didn't even land. They didn't even show up. There was nothing. It was all mock, and I'm like, why? And can't we just mock being out on this airfield freezing? Like, if they can't be here, I can dream this,
right?
And I was, and I guess to go back, maybe I was aware of it a little bit. I did Best Ranger in '99.
Did you?
Yeah. And
how'd you do? How'd you fare?
We finished. I got 11th place. Which
respectable.
That exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't first. I was a corporal. Just a young guy, and I was like, I want to try Best Ranger.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
I wanted to go do it, right? I wanted to do anything I could do. It was fun, and that sounded fun, the competition side of it. I was a good runner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so a few of those guys had moved on. So I'm sure that was boiling in my head. But I had, prior to my wife saying, we probably shouldn't get out at the same time, I had no intention of going.
But there was was there a comment about, are you sure that's what you want to do, being married?
No.
Okay.
No, 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I got to think about the timeline. I was 21. And so I guess, so I went in 2001.
You were a buck sergeant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, E5. And I remember, the only negative from battalion, there was, and you've probably heard this story before. It's not highly looked at, but battalion, when they get people, they don't want to lose them.
Spend a lot of money on you.
Yeah. And the first sergeant I had, at the time, really poor choice of words. He told all of us. There was three of us from two of us or three of us. I can't remember. There's four total anyway that had decided to go. And he told us, you better make it, because if you come back, you're not going to have a job.
Wow.
And that wasn't motivation. He wasn't intending to motivate us.
Yeah.
In fact, upon successfully completing, I came back and he had brought in imports from other places and replaced us.
Wow.
Already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
He was dead serious.
Yeah, he was dead serious.
I just don't know. I don't see that as a good leader.
It's not.
Because I'm the type of individual that I really don't care if your passion, let's say, in the private sector I'm talking specifically, but your passion is, say, finance, but you're working over in, I don't know, manufacturing.
Yeah.
And you tell me that, I'm going to do everything in my power to get you there, because I'd rather retain you within the company and help you find your passion that's going to add greater value to the organization than it's all about me.
Yeah.
Because once it starts focusing on, well, you're not helping me, then am I really helping you?
How can you not want somebody to be successful doing something greater, but you still want to keep it? You don't want them to be a success, but you want to keep them under you. The
how is the who. It's the person that obviously is not a good leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
what'd you think of that leader before that? Was he
was great.
Was he?
Before? No. Him. Yeah. Him personally.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say the previous. I never liked him.
Yeah.
Put up with him, and he had done his dues and put his time in, and he stayed on there and ended up at some point taking over the regiment or the battalion. Battalion.
Okay.
I went back and saw him on a recruiting trip, and we didn't hash out. The company called and said, "Hey, so and so, they're over at battalion. They'd like to see you." I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I walked over there, and I can't remember if I said anything to him at the point in time. It didn't have the same kind of impact on him as it did me. I just, good, bad, or indifferent. It's something that I, took with me as a leadership lesson. Mm-hmm. I would never, I just, in life, you never tell people, if you succeed, I'm going to punish you.
Yeah.
Or if you go and try something bigger and you fail at it, I'm going to punish you.
Yeah.
We're the kind of people that if we fail something bigger, we're going to punish ourselves plenty enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to be kicked out because I tried to reach a little bit further.
I could see motivating an individual in a different way, that because you don't want them to think, oh, if I go there and I don't make it, you don't want to already plant the seed. Hey, if you don't make it, don't worry about it. You can always come back and do it again, because then that might set that plant that seed in that individual of, oh, I can fail. Yeah. But there's a different way to do that than what this guy said.
Yeah, and maybe there's more to his story that I just didn't once we made it, I didn't.
Right.
I was on to the next thing. So I didn't spend a lot of time and energy on it.
So you tell your wife about Delta. Does she know anything at that point about it from her own
She's
career?
an analyst and she's smarter, so probably, she knew more than I did. She had more thought into it. She was down with it, though. She had just gotten out at this point, and the timeline's fuzzy, so I can't remember. I think she got out, and then we spent another year around there or something of that sort, because I re-enlisted in battalion to go.
Well, they definitely didn't like that then.
No. Well, I mean, and I didn't, when I re-enlisted, we were over in Jordan. I re-enlisted and, I hadn't made the decision to go at that point. I don't think I dropped the bomb on him at that point, and then the time came and, I put him for selection and,
what time of the year was it?
Spring of 2001.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that wasn't that too bad. And
no, we had
the training.
No.
Yeah.
You mean the weather?
Weather.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we had one day of snow, I think. And,
yeah.
I decided to wear some cold weather. Last time I did that, cold weather boots, back to jungles, But no, the selection was great. I mean, it was probably the most fun I had in my entire time in the military. It's the first time you're really allowed to, you're just on your own. You're treated like a big boy.
Yeah.
And you're doing beautiful, you're out in beauty.
Yeah.
And it's just you against yourself.
Yeah. I'd never been to West Virginia until 2 years ago, and it's amazing. And especially in the summertime, with the green, you get on a hilltop, and as far as you can see, it's just forest and trees. A lot of them actually had only been maybe 3 years old, 4 years old that you're looking at, because they'll plow them down and start over again, and that whole thing. But God's country, type of thing for sure. If you just take it all in, for what you're experiencing. But anybody that knows about selection for, Delta, is that it's a lot of, you have a lot of autonomy in a way, you're not sitting there and somebody's pounding you like, Ranger School or something like that. It's very, very different. You come out of selection and you go to the unit. What was that like in your first experience as it related from that to, comparison of Ranger Regiment?
You mean at the unit or like select? It was just so, I knew the second I got told that I had been accepted, and they whisked me away and got me sized up, fitted for, when we arrived at OTC before you leave West Virginia. At that moment, I was like, done. Different, totally different. Just the level of coordination and I want to say magic because it's a lot of work, but it appears
precision.
Yeah. I mean, and then you reflect on selection. So then, I think I might have had 5 weeks or 4 weeks or something between arriving at Bragg and departing and stuff, and I didn't do any physical activity. It was just so broke down, nothing.
Yeah.
And showed up for OTC, and then it was like eyes wide open. It was like, wow, this is it. This big boy's here. And to be honest with you, I was 22 at the time.
Okay.
So I believe it doesn't hold true anymore. At the time, I was the youngest to go through by like a month.
Yeah.
There was a lot of young guys, but so I was not comparatively to people that could go over there, in their mid 30s and stuff. I was on the low end of age, so it was kind of weird to me.
I bet it was. I was also going to ask about rank. Were you like one of the lowest rank individual? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're walking in, like you're saying, it's one thing to have, you may have rank, but yet your age and your experience level at that point, I could see being somewhat intimidated,
Yeah, I think I was intimidated in selection, because you're with guys that, clear guys that are coming from group and all these different places, and they are clearly more senior than you.
But you experienced that same thing in going through, Best Ranger.
Yeah.
You're competing against some of the best out there.
Yeah.
Or at least those are the ones who, that's the reason why they do it. They want to challenge themselves even greater than what they're already being challenged. So they come from group. They come from conventional Army. They come from all walks of life.
Yeah. I never really, and I carry this on today. I mean, I'm not cocky, but I'm just me. Like I try. You can compare yourself to people, but I've been marginally successful along the way, that enough to know that, it's not about them, it's about me. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I was around senior leadership and senior people, but they all had the right mentality. And I think not being overwhelmed or not having to wanted to make a career out of the military, I never really thought about it that much. I was respectful, but rank never really scared me,
Did it? So I think I've heard this before, but I'm curious. Does rank really play too much there?
No.
So it's almost right. So I think that's what I've heard a lot as well. So it's more of like, as long as you do your job.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how young you are then, or
No.
how, yeah. I mean, you've earned your way to this point, and
Yeah.
so because of that, obviously you have what it takes.
Yeah, I had my moment at selection when I was sat down and talked to by all the senior leadership before they made their decision. They gave me the opportunity, right before they told me what was going to happen, they asked me if I had anything else I wanted to add. And I had time to think about it. And I was like, yeah, this is crap that you guys have focused. And that's a room full of sergeant majors and colonels. And I was like, you've focused on my age so much. I'm doing the same thing that all these other, and I went off for a good 2 minutes. And I remember the commander at the time was like, are you done, Sergeant Roby? I was like, yeah, I am. He's like, well, welcome to Delta. And I was like, oh, all right, where's the door? Like, I need to get out of here. Like,
Get out of here before they change their mind.
yeah, I was like, take me away, please. Sorry.
Yeah, that's. I've even heard stuff though where they, at least this is what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. Where they may even say something like, you're not selected. So if we don't select you, how will you react to that type of situation? And depending upon how the person reacts to that question,
Yeah.
will determine a lot. So that meeting that you're describing there is really that last point.
Yeah.
Where they're really making a determination, and maybe they already have you, or you're on the fence. But you're saying they were focused so much on your age because they were probably wondering, can we really take somebody this young?
Yeah.
And do what we need to do.
And I think I probably was focused on the age more than they were, and so my perception, that's how we view the world, right?
Right.
And I think my perception was that they were focused on my age. I had, before I went there, I had people tell me I was too young. And guys that had failed and come back, you're too young.
Yeah. And then you're saying you're going to assessment with 30-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Am I worthy?
E8s and
Oh, okay.
and so
Probably told you didn't have enough experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay and get some more experience in battalion, then go to selection.
100%. That's you've heard it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
It's
And then you see your buddy that's a specialist, just got his tab, and he goes, you're like, and they pick him up.
yeah. It's
And then you see your platoon sergeant goes and he fails.
yeah.
So if you're listening and you want to try it, do it.
Just do it. Yeah. And, I was very fortunate in one of the guys. He was a mentor in the sense of, he was always unconventional, very talented guy, unconventional.
At Ranger Battalion?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was not in my platoon, but I had known him down in the NCO hallway once I became a squad leader and stuff. And he had preceded me. And when he came home from selection, I just asked him, and he asked him what's selection like, the whole like I'm thinking about it now. What is it like? What do I need to do? And he gave me one piece of advice about just some foot care, and that was it. And he's like, don't overthink it. And he's like, prepare, you're going to be good. I think I might have had a packing list or something, but
Think about that, though. Again, it goes back to, first off, there's so much intel that we talk about that's available through podcast about, what to take. You can go out and get the Ranger handbook. You can do all these different things and such. And then we even have pre-Ranger, pre-RASP, and all these things we were just talking about.
Now there's guys that are out and they're training.
Right, and there's
the
that.
civilian side. They're like, hey, pay me money. I'm going to prep you for selection.
Yes.
And they're having success.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kind of wild.
I don't know if I would have gone.
But that's my point. So the whole thing is like, you want to, there's a sense of me, I want to be prepared. But there's another part of me that just says, if I go as I am, can I make it? Mm-hmm. Or am I going to like overthink this whole thing? It's like going to a golf pro in some ways and saying, hey, can you help me fix my swing? By the time he's done with you, you go out there and you swing and you go, damn, this just doesn't feel natural. I mean, it's just not me.
Yeah.
Am I trying to be Tiger Woods and I never will be? you know, or I just want to come out here and go around the golf course and have fun with my friends.
Right.
You know,
and it's so hard. And, you know, good instructors, obviously information's important and stuff like that, but you always have to take into account you're hearing somebody else's perspective on what they think for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, just because somebody tells me, I've seen it so much where somebody says, you need to do, you know, these concrete steps.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. We all get to, you know, the same place in different ways. So, you know, take the information. But I think if I had as much access to as much information's out there right now, I honestly wonder if I would have made the choice.
Why do you say that?
I probably would overthink it.
I would be inside my head.
Yeah.
You know, because we talked about that even in the drive here about we were talking about somebody we know that's going, we met that's going through psychology or psychiatry school and such. And it's like, you know, I just don't know personally if I could ever do that because I have my own struggles being in my own head, let alone being in somebody else's.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're right. I would get inside their head by listening to their stories and everything and wondering by those, you know, by the way, those who are listening to this podcast, don't overthink it and don't not stop listening to the podcast here. That's not what I'm saying from the advice that we're providing. But, you know, I mean, there's something to be said about that sometimes, and I get it a lot in direct messages where people will be like, so what do I need to do?
Yeah.
You know, what episodes do I need to listen to and all those types of things. It's like, just go. Just be yourself. You know, the main thing is don't quit, but go there to be yourself.
Yeah.
Well, the Army teaches you how to do this stuff, right? Like basic training preps you for going to your unit and going to airborne school. And airborne school is going to prep you for going on to whatever the next selection is. And then you got Ranger school. Like you just have to do the things that the Army taught you how to do.
If that's the route you go. But what about the guy that's an 88 Mike that decides he's going to go to selection?
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But he hasn't gone through all that stuff, though.
He hasn't.
You got to be good at PT. You got to be good at your job. You have to know the stuff that they taught you how to do.
Yeah.
But you're taught everything you need to know and how to be successful. Everything. From I mean, every aspect of what you need to successfully complete that course, you are taught. It's just like learning, you know, you may shoot before you get in the military, but you still sit through the class. You still learn how windage works. You still learn about elevation. Yeah. You still learn about irons. I mean, even though you may be an expert on an AR, when you come in the military, you start at the base. That's the way it is there. So some of that stuff you don't need to know. Does it help to be proficient and understand how to read a compass? Of course it does. You don't want that to be the first time, but if it is, you will learn it.
You'll either adapt quickly.
Yeah.
Or maybe this isn't for you, or maybe right now you need to go back, hone your skills, and then come back.
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? You know?
And I say that, you know, you mentioned about the listeners and stuff. It's not that you shouldn't take the advice. It's just for me personally, I think I would overthink it. So for me, my success has been take information in, but you're never going to be satisfied. Once you get information, for me personally, I was that into, like, if we were overseas, I wanted to know everything. What's going on? But sometimes you just need to have comfort that you know what you need to know, or you'll be taught it, and you know, trust yourself a lot too. You know, don't always worry about somebody else telling you what you need to do to be successful. You've gotten thus far. Try it out. Maybe
great advice. Because I do think there are a lot of people out there that are probably like us that get inside their own head, start overthinking things, and usually it takes somebody that you trust, or a mentor, or, you know, whether that's a spouse, a friend, or, you know, a leader that says, why don't you just do it?
Yeah.
Or, hey, you can do this. And then you get, all of a sudden it's like, you know, at least for me, it's like, I'm out of my head now. I can now go, I feel like I've got the tools, but why didn't I feel that way before? Because, you know, I'm in that cycle, and I need somebody to stop the record from spinning and kick the needle, and so that I can, I can look at it with a fresh set of eyes.
Well, that's kind of true of any phase, any skill that you're doing in the military. Like they know you don't know what you're doing, and then you get promoted. I mean, how many people are out there? That's how I felt when I became an NCO. They're like, "You're right, you're going to take a squad," and I'm
show up to them in formations. Right?
I don't know how to do
You'll
that,
learn it.
And but neither did the guy that I'm replacing. He didn't know how to do it, and he learned it. But you're good at what you're doing now, and that's what they expect, and so they're going to put you in the next position and teach you how to be good at that. Yeah. So it's kind of how it works.
I kind of like the way that he did that, though, and just saying, you know, foot care, you know, just something simple, you know. In other words, listen, I'm, you know, he probably could have shared a hell of a lot with you.
He could have. Yeah.
But the main thing that he wanted to do is, I think, give you the confidence that, basically the only thing is just take care of your feet, and this is how you do it.
Did it work?
Yeah.
The foot care work?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you wore your jungles too.
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you what, I still
Any
use
socks
it today.
or-
Oh yeah, I doubled up on my black wool socks, not the thin sock.
Oh
thick
yeah,
sock.
those black ones were much better than the green.
Doubled up on wool socks, and the advice was, and it worked for me. And I've told people this before. At night, get a good pair of like outdoor socks, slather your feet with bag balm, like utter cream. Slather your feet with bag balm, sleep in those socks. And then
It'll turn them really soft.
just keeps your feet supple.
Yeah.
So your feet aren't cracking.
So go have a petty before you go.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm not gonna be responsible for that, but I don't want to start that fad. But he said, "Go get a pedicure." I had one blister on my pinky toe after the long walk.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
That's impressive.
And that's a long damn walk.
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Yeah. And there's nothing special about my feet. So I mean, it was probably the best. Honestly, it was the best advice I got, because everything else he could have told me everything in the world, and I wouldn't have realized it till I was in that moment.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of it is just extra information that I didn't need.
So
and I really valued that.
I'm going to ask you a crazy question here, because typically when you do a large road march, your boots are white because of all the salt and sweat from your body. Did you experience that with that?
No. I'm trying to think.
In other words, did the salt come out of your
get the
body through
salt
your
rings?
boots? Yeah, because that meant your feet were really sweating.
Yeah, no. You know why? I don't remember that, because it was so wet.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
That makes sense.
I was soaking wet most of that time. And honestly, the 40 plus miles that you walk, my brain was mush afterwards. Like I don't know if it's TBI or selective memory, but there's a lot of things I don't remember. People be like, "You remember that?" I'll be like, I remember a lot of that, and I remember a few key points for me, but I remember the exertion level for sure. My feet were so swollen. I had broke a lace on my jungle boots, like a 550 cord, right? And I broke and I didn't even need to put a lace back in.
You didn't have to cut your boot off either?
No. But I didn't need laces to keep my foot in that boot, right? My feet were so swollen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
But I used to wear tight boots. I mean, you had two pair of socks on, and you know, I like tight boots. I don't like loose boots. You know, I want them half a size small, almost like climbing shoes. Yeah. You know, because then you don't have all that friction.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Now that's another great tip.
That's for me.
You dropping.
That's something to try before you go and
absolutely
make a long movement.
I could just be weird, right? Don't take my advice and try it.
I know that would kill my feet.
Yeah.
And if I doubled up on socks, that would kill my feet on long road marches.
Well,
I was just green socks.
But were these brand new?
box boots.
These weren't like, okay, so these were boots. And we may be going down a rabbit hole. We don't need to go here, but these were boots that you've always worn with double socks, or you wore the double socks and that created them tighter because you typically don't buy boots that are wide enough for your feet float.
I wore same boots, only wore double socks when I road marched.
Okay, so that made that tightness that you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, well, it just kept the friction down.
Yeah.
And they were, I mean, you remember those old wool socks? They weren't super thick.
No.
But it was just enough that I think they're rubbing on each other versus creating the hot spots in the boot. So.
Now, my wife is very envious because of wearing those damn things for 20 years. I have no hair down at the bottom of my legs, and most of us are spending all the way from my calf all the way down. Like, your legs are super smooth, and it's like, well, wear combat boots and wool socks for 20 damn years, and it'll happen to you too.
You too can have that.
No, I don't shave my legs. It looks like that though. It's as smooth as that, like a baby's butt.
Good luck.
Awesome.
Too much information. So you arrive at the unit. They're accepting you, even though you're one of the youngest guys. But about that time frame, 9/11 hits, and so you're in this, again, premier unit that is designed for these types of moments. And I mean, what was that like?
We were out. I was out on the range doing CQB or something when the first tower got hit and got called over to a van. And just like everybody, you never forget where you're at. We listened to it on the radio, and it was like, what's going on? And then the second plane hit, and I just remember I'm like, we're at war, right? And still, I hadn't seen the video or anything, so this was all in my head, just
Sure.
whatever they were broadcasting. And the first thought in my head was, man, we're gonna be done soon. Like they're gonna need Sergeant Roby out there, right? That was not the case. It was literally like, all right, go back. We're gonna train. Some of the guys left to deal with whatever was happening on Bragg.
Yeah.
Because there was still so much going on, in the air and the country.
But nothing changed.
Nothing.
It was.
I went back out and did more hits.
Wow.
More practice. Yeah. And then finally we went at lunchtime. I was sitting there eating, got to see the planes actually hitting the tower, and that's when it really sunk in. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And then there was a little bit of despair because this is pre 9/11. Everybody wants, and it's a weird thing to say, but everybody wants to go to war, right? You're training for the Olympics. You want to go to the Olympics,
Yeah.
And that was very much the mentality in battalion. That's how you get these young kids, and we want to go to war because you don't think it's going to be a 21-year or 20-year
Right.
battle.
Thinking more like Panama.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Grenada, all that stuff.
Yep. And come back.
yeah, and so a little bit of despair in the sense of like, well, I'm going to miss war. I'm here, battalion. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, did you really think that?
I really thought that, honestly. At that time, I thought that. I was like, man, I left battalion. I'm here. I'm in training, and they're going, but I thought it was going to be so short that I was going to miss war. It wasn't the right mindset, obviously, but that is the mindset. I was like, and I know a lot of guys felt that way, like, oh, because you think it's going to be short. You didn't think it's going to be this protracted, prolonged war.
Nobody saw that coming.
No. And then when I got done with OTC, I went to the only group that had been gone. So now I'm like,
oh, the new guy, and
it is not where I want. I was, you're standing there waiting to be told where you're going, and it's kind of like getting picked for, a team when you're a kid, you know. And I was never the first one, and it's towards the end, and I'm like, man, the first one, this next group's going to be deploying overseas. That's where you want to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't picked for them. Then after that, the rotation's going to be this guy. Okay, I wasn't picked for them. It's like just my heart sunk. And to be 100% honest with you, I wouldn't change anything for what it is because the group of guys that I was with, obviously, Chris and Brad, they were in a different squadron, and they have their relationships there, and everybody's good. But I wouldn't change it. I absolutely love where I went, and my fears of not being able to participate in combat were false.
Yeah.
Like unnecessary.
Those days did come.
Yeah, those days came.
Yeah. After that, how long was it before you started dog handling and dealing with dogs and stuff?
Kind of right off the bat. I was in and around them from the beginning, but
by design, did they push you that direction, or?
I got asked. It was essentially, I volunteered that I had dogs when I was a kid. I had Cocker Spaniels. I had no clue what I was talking about. I was like, does anybody like dogs? I was like, yeah, I had Cocker Spaniels and Coon Dog, and no clue what I was talking about. Yeah. Never. I don't even know if I knew about police dogs really. I mean, I had a friend whose dad had a police dog, but I didn't realize they bit. I was like, oh, they look for drugs. That's all I cared about. They look for drugs.
Smell. Yeah, use them for their nose.
It's like, man, if I carry his pot in his house, is his dog going to light me up? That was the extent that I had before being in the military. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I love dogs, dags, and, it was I got exposed to it slowly, and then I stayed, doing operational stuff, and then went over, and I was still an operator, and then I finally got my own pup.
Yeah. What was that like? I mean, because, well, first off, did they send you through the full-born training, or what was it?
Yeah, I went through about 6 weeks of regular old civilian police dog stuff. And that was interesting. It never really bothered me. It made sense, right? It's like anything in the military. It's a slow progression. So I really enjoyed it.
Same dog? Like the dog that you got is like a pup or whatever?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no, I trained, during my train up, I had a different dog.
Oh, okay.
And then, because I did my train up and then went back to my team, and then after another rotation overseas, then I came back and got my dog. And then I did a couple rotations with him, and then I got out of the military.
Yeah.
So,
Did you get a chance to keep him?
I did. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the coolest stories, I think.
Yeah.
When they retire him and let the handler go ahead and keep him.
Yeah, and he, in full disclosure, he wasn't necessarily the most clear-headed dog. He wasn't, and he was loud. He was needy. It's probably a reflection of his handler. I hate to admit it. He whined a lot, but yeah, he was amazing, and he transitioned, better than I did into
Wow.
civilian life. Yeah.
Did he help you through the transition, you think, too? Because
On reflection, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think I appreciated it when I had him, but having that tether, I think it did help. Yeah.
yeah.
That companionship and just kind of, it wasn't cold turkey. I still had something in my life that I had, continued to do. Yeah, he was great with the kids and everything.
I don't think there's enough, and maybe there is by people who are really close to it, but some who may be listening may not realize, what dogs go through and see and the impact that it can still have on them.
Yeah.
Long term.
Yeah. Yeah. He,
the shock, TBI.
yeah, he got, overseas one night, we got a house dropped on us, and he was in the house when it happened.
Oh, man.
And, it kind of, he was off a little bit for a couple of days. I don't know how that impacted him. He was always kind of crazy. It's that breed of dog. He's a Malinois.
Okay.
That breed of dog they're special kids. They're crazy.
Special kids.
Yeah. They are like 5-year-olds.
Really?
Yeah. Just
All the time. Okay. I've seen them.
mentally, it's like dealing with an
Okay.
ADHD 5-year-old, who by the way has teeth and
Yes.
likes to use them. You
Yeah.
know? So they got short attention spans, and and they're always moving. So I didn't notice any real effect on him, minus he was slow going for a couple of days after getting blown up.
Yeah. Why is that breed one that's used? What was it that you learned about that breed? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Because I see them everywhere.
Yeah.
But usually they are for those purposes,
Yeah, I think just the lineage, but Malinois over Shepherds, I get asked that a lot.
Yes.
What I prefer.
Yeah.
I try to equate. They're both sports cars, right? And it's probably not I could probably think of a better analogy, but German Shepherds to me are like kind of like Cadillacs, if you would consider like a sporty Cadillac. They're slow, they have a purpose, they look good, but they're comfortable. Malinois they're hardier than a Ferrari, but they're like a Ferrari. It's a totally different ride and a lot more energy, and they are built to go. But they don't break down as much. I think German Shepherds, health-wise, I think Malinois are a lot healthier.
Yeah. Oh, okay. From a breed perspective.
Yeah, from a breed perspective. Mentality-wise, there's good Shepherds out there. Don't get me wrong. We would use Shepherds, but I think on a numbers basis, Malinois seem to be environmentally, for that job, very specific, not for police work necessarily. I think we just have more success in finding dogs that environmentally can deal with everything. They're hardier mentally, and can put up with a lot more stress. And when I say stress, I mean whether it's gunfire, explosions, corrections to get them to do the behaviors, fighting through a bite when they're on, getting bit and they're getting hurt as they're getting bit, stuff like that.
Yeah. No other breed really is used in those types of situations.
Just Shepherds and Malinois, but I would say majority Malinois. Yeah. And I think that, in the police world, it's a lot different, right? I don't know what the numbers are from a bite perspective and how much they're used. Some departments are very busy and, some are not, right? You may have a Shepherd that gets a couple of bites his entire career. You might have one that's getting multiple bites in a day. But, in this police world, I think Malinois are as prevalent. But I think Shepherds, there's that lineage with American police that, really was the Shepherd from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
The question I have is, how long did he end up staying with you in service?
Yeah.
And then, when did you pick him up?
I had him about I had him, I don't remember what year. It was maybe 04. So I had done 2 rotations over to Iraq. So probably like 04, late 04. And then I had him till I got out in 07. And then I kept him, and he was like 15 or 16 when I lost him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. He's
nice long life.
Yeah. He was a pocket rocket though. He was a small Mal, he was like 55, 60 pounds.
Very cool.
Was he always wound up still?
Oh, yeah.
It's still
To the end?
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. He was crazy.
Yeah.
I think people, because it's becoming a popular breed, I mean, they look so cool and the stuff they can do, and people that are not equipped to handle them, they end up with these things. It's like, man, it's just such a high energy, high impact animal. It takes so much maintenance.
I'm that guy. I bought a Dutch
Really?
Shepherd, which is essentially like a Malinois. For my daughter after I lost Tupac. And we had her for about 16 weeks. And then it was not the right animal for my home. And she went to some police department somewhere. I called up the guy I got her from. I was like, hey, this is not working out. She's food aggressive. She's
Ooh,
biting
that's not good.
biting the crap out of my kids. And she's only 16 weeks. My wife's basically throwing food at her now. So I don't want to, and I'm not home enough. She was fine with me, but I was out and I was traveling and I was like, this is.
Yeah.
So for all those people out there that want them because they look cool.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me, would you get another? I'm like, I might, but I'm okay with floppy-eared dogs. I'm okay with labs. There's a lot of good breeds out there.
Right.
And they're not all monsters, right? I mean, they don't all have aggressive issues. They're just, they go. Like, there's people underestimate how much work they need. They're a working dog. Mm-hmm. They're not the dog that's going to lounge on the couch at 2 years old with you.
There's no off button.
None.
Yeah.
So did you end up working with him a lot then in the unit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was your primary role then?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
About half and half my time.
Okay.
So I handled him. I was a soft handler for half my time, and it was really joyful. That was a great thing to do. I really enjoyed that aspect of the job. I love working a dog.
Yeah, I want to think, just because the animals are that way to a lot of humans, that it was therapeutic in a way too.
It was, and I don't think I realized it. I was looking at some pictures a couple of years ago of just him, and I came across one I had, and it was just him and the dirt over there on the base we were at, and I thought back and I'm like, man, we lived in the kennel together. He and I had a kennel that we lived in together by myself, and I had my best friend with me, right? I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't live in a room with 4 grown men. I was just with my dog. And I think that, I had guys come over and they'd hang out, and, the dog team was always, a lot of guys like to come and hang out. And I think because those animals are there, there is a therapeutic aspect, I think, when you come home from a long night out doing hits and, you just chill with your pup. We had a dog, Valco, who was Chris's dog, Moyer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I handled him when he was killed over there, but he was our mascot. That dog was amazing. He'd come out and hang out and loved to sit around and come up in your face, put his hand on our shoulders and smoke cigars with you. He wouldn't smoke them, but hang out and smoke cigars and there was that level of camaraderie that it brought.
So they were able to disconnect at times.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Some had more difficulty than others. There's definitely always, you probably saw it, there's dogs that you just, they're a tool. They're a working dog, and that's what they need to do, and they don't come and play with you.
Yeah, we had some dogs like that.
Yeah.
Some you could, you're like, all right, and they'll let you pet them, and they could kind of hang out. And others, you're just like, keep that thing out of blast radius, because he doesn't
not trustworthy.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is discriminates amazingly when we're working.
Yeah.
But doesn't turn it off when we're home, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't often.
Right.
We had a few really good dogs that they were essentially pets. I mean, they were that comfortable around.
That's cool.
guys.
Did you both end up having TBIs from same events?
Yeah, I was in the house when it dropped on us. That was I remember waking up that next morning and just it was like standing on a line of when you're shooting AT4s or Carl Gustavs and you've shot way too many. You wake up and your whole body just aches and, probably peeing a little blood and, just you recover, foggy, hazy, hungover, almost like a real bad hangover with body aches everywhere. But, beyond that, I have no doubt there's DVI, concussions and stuff out of that one.
Yeah. What was it that caused you to decide to leave the Army altogether? Because you were with the unit 7 years then, I think?
Six over six.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife, we had 2005 was a really bad year for losing guys and people getting injured. It was a really rough time. That was when, I did she did over a year over there. And during that time I was rotating back and forth. We were losing guys and she was an intel analyst. So she had access to, the SIPRNet and everything we were doing, in theater and, obviously not high level of detail, but, knowing essentially what we're doing. And I think that just wore on, we were 22 now we're in our mid 20s. Guys are losing, kids are losing their dads. I'm losing teammates. Wives are now raising kids. And I think in her head, she came to me one day and she's like, look, it was about time for me to make a decision on re-enlisting. And she's like, look, I don't mind. You can stay and finish your 20, but we're not having kids while this is going on.
You didn't have any at that point?
No.
Okay.
No. She said, we're absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have you go get killed or wounded and I've got to take care of you, or I don't have you and I've got, kids. So I was like, I looked at myself and I said, all right, I'm a 2I second in charge on a team. It's kind of like Ranger, but I've done it. Anything gets cyclical, right? Mm-hmm. I've done it enough. Everything above this, while it will be fun, you get to a level where it becomes administrative.
Is there something above this?
No, I think. Well, I mean within the building.
Yeah,
but I don't. But honestly, I don't think there's anything better than being on a team. I mean, there's nothing better. And I just said, okay, I'm good. I'll go to college. I'll get out. And
so you didn't think about maybe going into more of an administrative role or into something that you could still be a part of the unit, but in a different capacity where you could still lend your experience and nothing like that?
No. No. I knew for myself when I got out that I needed to be not in the East Coast. Like I needed to be otherwise I would be drawn back in.
Yeah.
So I knew that about myself. I did, I spent the last year working on some research and development projects, and, taking lessons learned and trying to turn those into better products for us. So I did get it wasn't the full year. It was about 6 months, 9 months. So I did get a little bit of that, but I think, if I was going to stay there, the only place I wanted to be on was in a team.
So I can personally say that there are things that I have regrets when I look back. Is that one of the things maybe?
No,
Curious.
I don't think I've ever really had regret about it. Mm-hmm. I've never, being honest, I've never been like, I wish I would have done. I can say that because it's enjoyable time, and sure, I would love to have more years of it, but there's also the aspect of, at some point you're going to get off the train anyway.
That's what everybody forgets, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of got to decide how you got off the train.
Yeah.
Like there's no guarantee that you'll get to continue to do your job.
Well, you definitely want to do it in your terms.
Or that you won't.
Yeah, and my wife made it easy, right? I mean, I did want a family. My mom was real sick. She's since passed away, but she was real sick. And, family was important to me. And all of our family was here on the West Coast. So it really wasn't that difficult of a decision. I don't remember laboring on it much. And again, maybe it's too many blasts to my head and I don't remember.
But that's almost like that. I could see it with the story that you shared of your, how you are and everything, of you being sort of like, okay.
Yeah.
And again, that spur of the moment, not too much thought. I'd been inside my head. I'd been calculating what are the, the risk here of both sides of it and all of that. And really, but for me, it was somewhat the same thing. When I got out of the Army, it was a conversation that happened between me and my wife about how many moves PCSs were now going to be required, or because it was the Sergeant Major Academy, and all that type of stuff, and I didn't give it any too much thought because at that point I knew that was the right decision.
Yeah.
However, later on, and it wasn't, I was one of these guys that felt like, I had it all together and was probably pretty cocky at the time frame. And it wasn't until years later I realized, God, what if I would have done this? And it's still, my wife will say something like, well, our lives would have been different.
Yeah.
when you make a decision, you end up going down a path, and you don't know how this other side's going to be, and you try to play it out in your mind, but you're still not going to know all the things that's going to happen in that other path that you don't have visibility to, because you don't know what events are going to happen to challenge that.
100%.
So, but too many people, though, start focusing on, God, what if I made that left turn rather than the right turn?
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy.
No.
Even for myself, I'm saying that for myself.
It's natural.
It is.
But I don't think it's healthy either. Regret as far as making that decision, I don't. The only regret I truly have is when I stepped away, I made the conscious decision to step away and separate. And
how'd you do that though with her still being on active duty?
She was in the National Guard when she got called to be overseas. So when she came home, she got out of the Guard and everything.
Okay. Same time frame?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you guys made the decision, it was like, we're both doing this.
She had been home for like a year. So she was in the Guard. They got called up to go over on their, North Carolina's rotation to wherever. She'd come home, and she'd been home for she was going to be a paramedic and stuff. And we were kind of in the same decision we were 6 years prior, but a lot more wise, I think. And it was just the right time, getting out at 22 or 21.
So contracting wasn't an option. When you say you wanted to step away, you literally wanted to let me cock the rearview mirror and
Yeah, and that's when you asked about regret, that would be the only point I would add is it took me too long to get back in contact with the Lees and the Chris's, and, that's probably the only regret I have is I felt like mentally I needed to step away, otherwise I'd be sucked back in. So I was protecting myself that way, which I think was unnecessary. I don't think I needed to in hindsight, but I got out and I was in North Carolina for about 8 months. Before we moved, and I was doing just research and some cross research and development, being a middleman between end user in the soft community and, your Picatinny arsenals and all that. And I was working for a company that had been started by a former operator. And I did that for a short period of time. And I don't know if you want me to get into it, but, essentially I decided I'd go back to school, I wanted to be a PA. Physician's assistant. So I was going to the University of Portland out in Oregon. We had moved, and we had
what was the calling there?
I liked medicine. I'd done some of it. I didn't like working on guys, but none of it bothered me. It fascinated me. I had done paramedic training while in the military, and I enjoyed it. Having our second child, I took a break from school, and then I took a job in Portland, and then that's really where I'm in the civilian side now. At this point, that's all in the rearview mirror. It's who I was. It's part of me, but it's who I was. It's not who I am, and that's kind of the way that I viewed that time. Okay, we closed the chapter. It's given me some great experience and some life lessons, and shaped my personality, but doesn't define me by any means.
Were you able to do that? I mean, 100%. That, I think, is, I got to say, and I think I've even said it actually on former podcasts and maybe more early on, is that, I was one of those guys that said, I'm going to cock the rearview mirror, I'm walking out of here, and that's the end of it. And yet here I am sitting with the podcast because I felt like there was a sense of community I lost, and I wanted to kind of get it back by having folks like yourself sit across the room and have these kind of conversations that at least make me feel like I'm somewhat connected. And that sense of community and that whole thing, but also giving back. So has there been any of that? You're saying you're just now starting to make contact with former guys.
Yeah, that absolutely. I didn't, I guess I didn't think it was as needed as much. I didn't realize that it was needed. I think these conversations are huge, and people willing to talk about this so that other people can hear about it, because I didn't know, and just like y'all probably didn't when I got out, people weren't talking the way they are now, right? And so you're sitting there going, am I the only one feeling this way? Am I the only one thinking this? Am I the only one who doesn't, great, I have a resume, but how do I really interview? How do I start at the bottom again and build,
which is tough,
and have confidence and build myself up?
For someone like you who rose to the top.
Yeah.
It's a lot to stomach, which is the reason why I think a lot of guys also go contracting, or just something that's very common.
Yeah, necessity is what drove me. Here's short story. I had been out for a while. I had done some contract work, not contracting overseas. Had gone to school, and I wanted to stop traveling. And was joking with a friend of mine who lived in Portland, and he was a construction guy, and he goes, "Hey," he's like, "I'm this company that does all the shipping, international shipping here in Portland. He's been working on their dock face, and he's gonna go interview for this job as a superintendent of loading and offloading ships, managing the labor union." And I flippantly was like, "Ask him if they got another job." Yeah. And never, no interest, no history, nothing.
Just like way out in left field.
Way out in left field. I just knew I didn't want to travel, and I didn't know how the skill sets that I had would get me into other jobs.
Sure.
I didn't know how to go find that.
But you knew that if you cracked the door and you got in, you might,
And I did, and I got interviewed by this guy at a restaurant, and they had a second opening, and the pay was, I think, $60,000, right? So here's my past, everything, and now I'm starting in an industry I've never been in Portland, and they didn't hire me. The first interview, made it all the way through. They didn't hire me because I didn't have any experience. So I went back to contract. About a week later, 2 weeks later, they called me and they said, "Hey, this guy bailed on us. Do you want to do it?" I was like,
"What made him take the chance?"
Because I was the second. I was the second one. Yeah, they needed another superintendent, and I said, "Sure." And so that began for me at 28 years old a path again of starting at the very bottom. And if there's anything that I'm proud of, it's that I'm not I don't have such an ego that I can't start at the bottom. And you're 100% right. Within a year, I was running the entire terminal. So I had gone from the lowest man in the company to the terminal manager, and now traveling the world and managing, a $40 million budget and productivity on cranes and learning all this stuff that I didn't know anything about, but it was all there in who I already was.
Yeah. That's a big point right there. And again, it goes back to the very early part of this podcast where you were talking about the tools are there.
Yep.
And some people just don't realize that. And once again, you recognize that I've got what I need here as a foundation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys, when they make the transition, they don't realize that in itself too. I mean, they don't realize that they don't have the confidence, or maybe they do have too much confidence, but they don't realize their weaknesses necessarily when they walk out the door. But if you understand, if you do an introspective look, I guess is what I'm saying, and you look at yourself and you recognize your weaknesses, you recognize your strengths, but then you take those strengths and you capitalize on them and go, yeah, but this is what I can do. Mm-hmm. These are the tools that's been given to me that I can really expand upon. Then you're probably going to grow and be successful out here in the private sector.
Yes.
And it sounds like you were very willing to let go of some things too, to get what you wanted. I mean,
yeah, and you have to. You gotta be willing to look like an idiot if you have confidence in yourself. And anybody that's coming out of the military that's listening to this, I mean, there are skill sets that you may not know how to translate them today, but they're absolutely pertinent. I would take somebody who doesn't have any experience that's been in the military and not been kicked out or anything like that. It doesn't matter what you did in the military. There's some inherent qualities that you have that companies absolutely want. And it may not seem like it, but give yourself a year or two. And typically, my experience has been people rise really quickly within those companies. Or they can start their own it's hard. I didn't know this until it took me 10 years to figure this out. Kind of force gumping my way through what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I haven't found anything I really can't do and be successful at.
What have you seen in the private sector since you've been out? Because it's been a while.
Yeah.
As it relates to like post-traumatic stress, there just seems to be a bad stigma of people coming forward within the military because they're concerned about whether or not the unit will, or whatever unit they're in, will actually allow them to remain in the fight or put them back into the fight at some period of time. Yet in the private sector, I think there's this concern about former veterans who may have post-traumatic stress and that, you're going to go crazy, or you're going to be more of a challenge for them and everything. So there's a stigma that's actually on both sides of it that we're trying to fight. And quite honestly, even some nonprofits out there don't really help with that because they try to portray the post-traumatic stress veteran as being the broken individual that we need to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. And society has embraced that. I mean, society's embraced that view because we've given it to them.
Yes.
We've talked about it. We've given it to them. And I think part of it is trying to understand what it really is. I used to not believe in it, and then I had my own struggles through depression, which I thought were just normal life things. And then you talk to more people. I heard, I hear Chris or I hear Lee, and you hear people talk about it, and these are strong dudes that I know that I would never question their them overseas or anything, and they're dealing with some of these issues. And I'm like, okay, I'm not abnormal. Mm-hmm. Tom Spooner and Scott, that was my first conversation. I was having a real rough go, and I called Scott Spooner up one day, and he just was like, dude, and he ran me through everything. And this was right as Tom and then we're starting to talk about PTSD.
Yeah.
I thought about this recently because PTSD it's a diagnosis that was created to try and explain things, right? I like to think of it for myself more like I use the term newfound reality or new functioning reality. It's not you've just done things and seen things you can't unsee. It's like anybody. It's like an ER doc. You have new experiences that have shaped the way you react to things now. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That is absolutely normal. If you get attacked by a bear, you're going to be scared of bears in the future, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to probably avoid them.
Yeah.
Things like that. That's normal. That's how we survive. And so you can't be exposed to the things we were exposed to and not expect things to happen. One of the things I talk about with PTSD, so TBI is, I have no doubt that anybody who's been in the SOF community and other people as well, I mean, armor, tankers, like there's...
mortar.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, you don't have to be in special operations for it by any means. But I'm having a TBI moment. I was going somewhere with that. It's gone. Oh, so dogs, we talk about with dogs, stress. So PTSD is a reaction to stress, right? Well, the only difference is my bucket, I might have a bucket and you might have a 55-gallon drum. But when my bucket and your 55-gallon drum that's when you start to see it. So there's probably people out there who maybe they have a higher tolerance or they haven't experienced it. Maybe that comes post-military. Maybe it comes the first time you're shot at in the military, right? It's hard to predict when that's going to come for people, but I think it comes. And I think guys experience it later because those experiences still happen. They're stressed. Maybe it's no longer about the military. It's about their life. They come home now. They have to deal with a family that they've been able to avoid for 20 years by staying busy, in the work. And now home life is stressful, and you start seeing these symptoms that are I think they're all tied together. Stress is stress.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's I think a study actually that's out there, and I've mentioned I think on other episodes where they're even looking at it's not just different DNA. I mean, we're made up very different. It's the reason why you're you and I'm me and stuff. We don't carry the same DNA, but there's also stuff to do about your pre-existing conditions, how you grew up, where you grew up, all of that could play a role at some point in your life. You may have been exposed to post-traumatic stress in a very different way that you don't even recognize it as that. And then when you experience it in a very different way, it may now compound it.
Yep.
And either then at that moment or like you're saying, some period of life, and how you deal with it may have a lot to do with, again, the makeup of your life up to that point. So, but I think it's important that we at least explain this and talk about this more, because then the general public begins to understand it better. And you think about police force who are exposed to it all the time.
Yeah. And you said companies earlier. Nobody should be scared of it. I mean, do bad things happen? Yeah, bad things happen to good people all the time. And none of them have been, people do things. We get messed up in life. But to put a stigma on PTSD, that's the thing that, I think it keeps people from actually talking about it. When everybody thinks, oh, I don't have PTSD because I don't have this, or that person's crazy, let's not talk about it. I think the more we talk about it and normalize it, that's huge, right? It's just normal. There's no reason to be scared of it. Companies shouldn't be avoiding people because of that. They're not going to come in. We're not going to have the postal shootings. They're not going to come in and.
I think that's what they're afraid of. Right? Yeah. But it's been portrayed that way. I mean, even television, movies.
Yeah. I've been asked before, like, you're not going to flip out, right? I'm like, no, I'm not going to flip out. I'm just.
We also have to talk, I think, in the PTSD story, like we're talking, but then there's also, I like to call it the professional vet, the person who's made their new identity being the veteran who's afflicted. And maybe you don't want to talk about it, but
No. What, are you talking about like the bro vet?
the bro vet, the professional vet. I go to every hunt thing. I take every handout I can get, and
use it as the suffering.
Exactly. This is my new identity. I am an afflicted
I'm a broken.
person. Yep.
Yes.
And I think that does more damage than anything because there's people that are actually trying to help with these events.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who take advantage of it, right, wrong, or indifferent.
No, you're right.
Well, and it's not serving them well, I think, either. The individual that's doing that, because like you have to, like I was saying, you let go of a lot of things. I mean, you had maximum status in the military, and then you go and you take a medium to low salary job, bottom of the barrel. I mean, I've had to do this as well.
Yeah.
And you just gotta let it go. You're not Sergeant.
Yeah, but that's not what they want
anymore.
They want attention.
Exactly.
Right, but
they thrive on.
But you're missing out on the healing when you do that.
But they don't want to be
missing
healed.
out on the man you should be, because you shouldn't be the guy that you were in your 20s.
No.
After you're not in your 20s, and
why not? Jeez, man, I want to go back. At least
you
to
should
Bob.
look,
All right, let's
you should
go.
look like you did in your 20s. You got to stay in shape.
No.
What, you don't see the six pack and the.
No, I believe you looked like that in your 20s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not messing with you.
No, but it's true. There are people who actually enjoy doing that, and it's almost. And again, some people are really struggling, and maybe they're looking for that right answer. And we're not talking about that, but what you're describing is an individual who thrives on the attention and wants to take advantage of not only the limelight and enjoys that, but wants to take advantage of the system that's been placed in front of them that allows them to survive in that world, in that space.
And it damages people that need to come forward. Right, seeing that turns other people off.
Yeah, who really need the help because then they go, "Oh my God, I don't want to be labeled as that guy."
Right. Yeah.
And then they don't accept help.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I see that. It's embarrassing to talk about it. It's whatever. I don't care. You know what?
Yeah.
I used to think that way. I truly did. I wouldn't talk about PTSD or TBI, and TBI is easier to talk about because I don't have I don't have this perceived control over TBI.
Yeah.
PTSD is scary to talk about because now there's something wrong with me, right? That's what people do. TBI, it happened to me.
Well, it's labeled, the last initial is disorder.
Yeah.
So it's already giving that bad connotation.
But it occurs in people that experience trauma in such an orderly fashion. Like you experience trauma and then you have this to deal with afterwards.
Right.
Like there's nothing disorderly about it.
Right.
It's just a matter of course. If you go and do high impact things, you're going to have some bruises afterwards. And that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody in the psychology world needed to put their name behind it, and I should know that who that is, but I think it was the best they could do to try and identify what this is, right? So we're going to we can't fully medically explain it. It's a disorder. It happens to people, but
it goes to the point though. Is it really?
Well, it's jargon. That's the problem. Is that in that profession, that's jargon. That's not stigmatized. It's neutral language. That's
100%. Yeah, and we've taken and made it a negative thing, and I don't think it needs to be. All secure. There's different people that are doing different things, and I'm all for all of it. I am totally for people getting help where they need it, being able to hear my story. Yeah, there's absolutely been low points. Whether it's PTSD or I was just suffering, like there's been low points where I was alone. I didn't have people I was identifying with. I was living in a space that I had, rented out for other people in my own head, and I was focused on what wasn't important. For me, when I talked to Scott about it, it wasn't all consuming, depressing, but there were times that it was like, man, this is the only thing I control. I'm having so much trouble controlling things. The only factor I see that I can control was if I remove myself from this. And I think that's why suicides happen is I think one of the reasons you're trying to control things that maybe you can't control. Maybe let it go and focus on what you can control. In the sense of you're stressing about things, or there's things that are happening in your life that maybe you just don't need to have control over, and that's not a bad thing.
It's a hard lesson, I think, for especially getting back to the types of personalities we were talking about earlier, that we want to be in control all the time. We're inside our head, And if you're that type of individual, which I can tell you I am, then you would definitely struggle more than maybe your buddy that you don't see struggling as much, and you think, what's wrong with me, which gets you inside your head more.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this vicious cycle until maybe you have someone like a Scott Spooner or Tom that's a friend that says, dude, you got to get out of your head.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is, and it resonates too. Because I mean that's another thing. Is it really going to resonate?
So Kelly, what have you done when you're like at your low points and you're like kind of spiraling around the bowl? Like, what are some things you've done to kind of pull yourself out of there?
I don't know. With the first time that I was it was going on for a while when I called Scott, and honestly, the biggest thing for me is just talking to people. I have people that I trust that are no BS. You guys had Lee on and you had Chris on. Those guys are, people that I trust to have these conversations with. And there's other people, but, you good?
Sorry.
You're good. There's people that I trust that are open about this kind of stuff, that are non-judgmental. That makes it easy to have conversation and be willing. Yeah. But you got to find those people, because otherwise you're just going to be looking at the people who you're afraid of judging you. So that's when I say, don't worry about things you can't control. I used to worry about people judging me because, I'm having these issues. Now I know there's other guys having these issues. Mm-hmm. And for the people that aren't having these issues, they're either not being honest, or maybe they just don't have those issues. But I also find there's a lot of people that aren't being honest about the conversation because they haven't gotten to the point where they don't look at it as a weakness anymore.
Yeah.
We saw, talking about like bro vets or whatever, we saw a guy with a T-shirt last night. What was on the back of it? Well, the front said veteran.
Oh yeah, it's that stupid shirt where it's like definition of a veteran, someone that wrote a blank check up to and including my life for your like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up.
And we see
I'm
that.
so glad I didn't wear that today.
Right.
That would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, that would have been. Because Paul and I would have been like, what the?
Yeah.
But it's living in that world sometimes too, again, where you got to let it go.
Yeah.
And, whether you're talking about those events that led up to this point, or, we're talking about regret or whatever the case may be. It's like, you don't always have to wear the hat. I'm a veteran, Paul does on occasion, Ranger Bat,
I worked really hard for that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't have a uniform to put it on anymore. I paid like $20 for that stupid medallion.
It's okay, but
on something.
It doesn't define us. It's part of us, and it's our shared experience. I mean, but you're not. That's not what you're doing anymore. So it's okay to talk about it and have that part of it, but you don't live there. If you're going to live there, either go back in the military or and maybe you can't because you're retired or you're injured. I get that, and we all have that shared experience. So my suggestion for people that feel like they're living in that place, that's where you have a good core group of people. Or it's okay to go to these events. I mean, I went to one of them, it's good, but that shouldn't be your goal in life, is to identify as that anymore.
Well, and especially not check your calendar and see where those events are occurring. And, oh man, I've always wanted to go to Colorado. Here's a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's okay to an extent. I know exactly what you're saying, Kelly. Like the guy that's the professional
event goer.
Vet guy.
Yeah,
I understand that. And there's a certain point where it's like, all right, how much is this really helping you? Or are you just recreating? But I think it's important also to accept help 100%. and accept, like, these organizations are out there for a reason.
Yeah.
So go, if that's your bag, go and do something good with it. If you identify as a veteran, use it so you can reach other guys, the guys that are hurting or suffering in silence, and talk about it. Connect with them at those events. There's a lot of good to be done in that space, and there's a lot of help you can get that you may need.
What you're saying, though, is check yourself. Make sure you're going there with the right heart and the right reason. And if you feel like you want to actually improve, then that means you're actually you will improve, because you've already set the mindset that you want to gain something from this. So you're not going there because your buddies are going there and it's a great time to sit around the campfire and talk about the days gone by. You're actually going there because you want to heal.
Yeah.
You're not going there because you want to ski, down the, Boulder, Colorado, mountains and everything and see the scenery. You're going there to heal, but that may be part of the healing.
Yeah.
And
Paul said it, also helping, like sharing.
Don't then give back.
Yeah, give back. Don't just take, and it may seem you might be insecure about it. I was, but you got to talk about it. And if somebody thinks that I had a conversation with somebody and they hate the conversation of PTSD as a former veteran, they hate it. They're mad about people talking about it. It makes us look weak. I said, you know what? I was like, we need to set up dinner and talk about your PTSD. I was like, you are so angry right now about this and how people are perceiving us. Like, I don't care. Yeah. If anybody wants to question my courage, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've checked that block.
Yeah.
I'm good. I've got 1,000 hits that say, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So to talk about this is not a cowardly thing. It's not stigmatizing. He made the point that, well, kids, all these people here that, you're going to go in and you're going to come out with PTSD. No, I don't think they do. People are still enlisting in the military. Don't be afraid of going and doing something because you might.
But there is a reality to.
There is.
You could. And you need to understand the consequences of your decisions, whatever they may be. But I would rather have all of the facts laid out in front of me to say, listen, war is not what you think it may be on television and the movies and everything else. That's probably very far from it. That's Hollywood. That's their perspective, and most of them have never been. So what you need to realize is that what you're signing up for, there's a bit of a reality check that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But I also think that's kind of what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to show the guys that they're going into the military now, or they're going to get out of the military soon, and they're going to be where we are. So like my job, I really am passionate about this, is to show the guys the way. Like when you get out, don't just go buy a grunt style t-shirt and put some stickers on your truck and then be a cranky old vet for the rest of your life. Go find a place to volunteer, find a group to mentor you, and that you can mentor back, because you need to do both. Find some way that can help you professionally so that you have a good professional network. Find good mental health resources, whether it's going on hunting trips, or it's equine therapy, which I prefer, or just traditional therapy.
Ayahuasca. I mean, there's people doing all kinds of, do you guys know Doc Pate? Kate. She's a neuropsych. I think she's a doctor, but anyway, she follows a lot of this stuff and dabbles in that world of PTS and all that stuff, and puts out a lot of information about the
veteran, or just
no, I don't believe so. A lot of association with veterans and stuff, but pushing the studies on ayahuasca and psychedelics, and kind of keeps people in the loop. That's one aspect of it. There's all that kind of stuff out there, but I think sitting on it and not talking about it we've seen for hundreds of years. One of the things Spooner introduced me to, or talks about, is tribe. And back in the olden days, warriors would sit around and they would burden the village, right, with their stories. That's how they lived healthy. And they had a purpose too. They were fighting for their families. War's a lot different now. You go overseas, your next door neighbor doesn't know you're fighting for them. They might, but they don't have, there's no skin in the game for them maybe. Right. And we don't burden society anymore. We don't come and tell, we don't come and sit around the fire and tell the story of the warrior. That's what I think we need to do with PTS. That's why these conversations are important, because it lifts something off of me and puts it on whoever's listening right now. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. It's okay to talk about the hard struggles you have and burden some of the people who haven't had to live that life, right? Because we're all in it together. And I think that's something that's changed about modern warfare, is you go away, you do these things, and then you come home and you don't talk about it with anybody.
I think there's a fear, though, if somebody does come forward like you're describing, especially in this type of platform, that they may be perceived as that broken warrior, as that individual, because that's what the conversation at that moment is about. That was the topic. But again, it's like your military service. It doesn't define you, but it's missed perhaps by somebody who takes the snippet or takes that moment in time and says, I didn't realize that impacts you that much.
Yeah.
I thought, you were okay.
Yeah.
And now they start thinking you're not okay.
Not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't want to put themselves out there. I mean, I've had people that, quite frankly, there are people who don't want to come on a podcast because they don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to be exposed. They want to kind of.
But they're suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a shame. And I hope that more people talking about it and normalizing it in a good way, not normalizing something bad, but hey, this is okay to have. And you can be productive, go, was a CEO for a company, you can be a successful person in life and still,
I love what you said, normalizing. If you do anything with data and you're looking at it, you're going to have data that's going to be random up and high and, all over the place and stuff. Normal is, whatever this baseline is, you draw a line on the graph and stuff, but you start seeing all these sporadic things. But what you're taught to do is normalize that data, pull it in. And when you pull it in, you may have outliers and stuff, and there could be extreme outliers on both sides of this whole thing. But when you normalize the data, you find that there's more common ground than there is apart. If you focus on the outliers all the time, then you're spending your time in the wrong place.
Well, you think they're outliers, and maybe they're not. Right. Like you said, you're expanding your data range.
Yeah.
You're just working with more information now, going, oh, it's not what we thought it was. It's this now, and this makes sense. And like you said, there's always going to be in anything, right? There's going to be the bad cases, right?
Yeah.
And there's, with TBI, we talk about it with CTE and these things that are coming out. There's certainly bad cases, but if you were to look at all of human history and the data we have, that's not always the outcome. So it shouldn't be something that we're scared of.
I always ask people, getting back just for a moment about the, we may be stopping individuals from joining the military. I used to ask on the podcast, did you have any family members or anything that came in? Myself, I had an uncle that was captured in World War II by the Germans and was put in a camp and everything as a POW, and it was a German boy that let him out. And there's a whole story that goes with that. I had a Marine uncle that went to Vietnam, that saw some really bad stuff and all that. It didn't stop me. It never changed my decision where I thought for one moment, if anything, it made me think, these are proud individuals that I wholeheartedly respect as my uncles or my cousins or whatever, and what they went through. I felt like to give of themselves in that way, I wanted that.
Yeah.
I wanted to, I don't know if you call it humble yourself, but get to the point where it's not about, look at my shiny uniform and I come back from boot camp or basic training and here I am, and it's all about me. It's more about giving of yourself. And so I learned that very early on and talked about that. Well, what we're asking now is for those who may be struggling to go get help, but as well, those individuals who maybe have gone through the other side and seen, and they're still healing. You're never fixed maybe 100%, but when you talk about it and give back, it's that same thing. You're giving of yourself. You're just giving it a different way now. It's not about you. It's about helping the next person to your left.
It's very similar to what you did in the military. Do something bigger than yourself.
Be the leader that goes out instead of telling you, this is what's going to happen to you and blah, blah, blah. Or if you don't come, if you come back, you're not going to be. Don't be that guy. And the same thing with the PTSD. Instead, be the guy that says, hey, I want you to do your best. That's all I want you to focus on. By the way, change your socks, wear good boots, and that's it.
Yeah.
And give you the hope and the drive and everything that you need. You're not going to get all the answers and stuff, but go experience this event. Go to this place and see if you get the healing that you need while going there. And if you don't, hey, you know what? We'll help you find another one, because there's going to be somebody. It's just like going to a psychiatrist or whatever, a counselor. It may not be the first one. It may be the 50th one.
Probably won't be the first one.
No.
Most likely, you're going to have to.
But if you don't keep going, you're not going to find it. Yeah.
And maybe that's not the person you need. Maybe it's, your buddies that you served with. Maybe that's the people that you burden with your stories, and when you tell it around the fire. Some people, they can do it in larger groups. They can do it for strangers, and they can unload on a room full of strangers and say, hey, this is my experience and this is what my community is going through. And that's valid too. It doesn't matter. it's out there. I know I volunteered at a horse farm, and my favorite thing to do was just fix stuff. I just go bang fence boards together. I met a guy who was he was a calf guy, never deployed, but had some bad experiences, and not in the best spot, just like I was, and that became like a little mini tribe, and we got so much enjoyment and healing just working hard out in the sun. And you're looking at what these people are doing with their time and their animals to help our community. And I'm not in the spotlight, and I'm not getting any accolades, and I don't have to share anything except my knowledge of working with my hands and my work ethic. And so now I'm mentoring this guy and teaching him skills he doesn't know. And I'm getting, now I have a buddy, and it could be that simple.
Yeah.
That could be all you need to do. It doesn't have to be some big mental health thing. You don't have to go and bare your soul and to strangers, or you don't have to do that.
I think hiding in the shadow makes it more stressful. I think honestly when I share and I talk, and I think Chris and Lee and Brad, I think they all feel very similar. Like I don't walk around with that burden of shame or anything. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Are there things, there's people you've missed, there's things you've done that forever alters you. But again, we talked about it. Part of to me, the veteran experience or being a veteran is, looking at what your service, being proud of it, but continuing to serve and finding something bigger. And that's, whether that's your family, whether that's the community, your job, like that's the part that I think I was missing. I was in my own head a lot and just trying to, I got to make a paycheck for my family. I do this. And I wasn't doing anything bigger than just that small thing. And giving back and being able to talk about it, that's my most stress-free times are when I can do that. That's rewarding to me, instead of just always in the grind for, that's why I 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I stepped away from, I was making great money, CEO of a company, all the things that you should want. Right. Yeah. And I was like, I'm good. I've taken the last year and a half.
I'm like pointing my hand, raising my hand and everything. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And I think though that probably comes more with age and wisdom.
Yeah.
Making mistakes and realizing, but you're right.
I've never made a mistake. Everything's gone by plan without having a plan. Yeah. That's why I don't plan. Yeah. Because then nothing goes wrong.
I need to live that.
I wouldn't suggest it. Not if you're a control freak.
Yeah. I don't know that I could go that direction anyway.
Yeah.
Kelly, I appreciate you coming on, man. I really do. And talking about all of these, great things. I think, again, there's so much that you could take out of this episode, and I feel like it'll help somebody. I think there's somebody out there that'll be listening, and I think we do need a lot more veterans to come forward and have these difficult conversations that we had here in the end. And I think by doing so, it allows more people to really heal. Just by listening to a podcast, you really can make a difference by just being in these types of platforms.
Yeah.
And for that, I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Appreciate your guys' time. Thank you very much.
Definitely.